He sold his blood just to survive. And somehow, that same man would go on to lead a $100 billion global empire that changed how the world drinks coffee. Most people know the name Starbucks, but almost no one knows the story behind the man who built it, Howard Schultz. Born into poverty, raised in a housing project, and scarred by watching his father get fired after a workplace injury, Howard's childhood was filled with struggle. No safety nets, no second chances. But instead of giving in, he made a decision to dream bigger than anyone around him, to break out of the cycle he was born into, and to chase an idea so radical at the time, it nearly broke him. This is the true story of how one man went from the staircase of a Brooklyn housing project to the corner office of one of the world's most recognizable brands. It's raw, it's real, and it might just change how you see your own future. Because if Howard Schultz could make it from nothing, why not you? Howard Schultz was born in 1953 in Brooklyn, New York, but not the polished, gentrified Brooklyn you see today. This was the hard-edged Brooklyn of broken sidewalks, small apartments, and forgotten families. His family lived in public housing, packed tightly into a small, one-bedroom apartment in the Canarsie Bayview projects. There was no space, no luxury, and often no peace. His father was a truck driver, a tough job with long hours, little pay, and absolutely no benefits. No health insurance, no job security, no future. Then, one day, when Howard was just 7 years old, his father slipped and fell while delivering diapers. He shattered his hip and lost his job instantly. There was no workers' comp, no hospital coverage, just a broken man and a family falling apart. Howard watched it all happen. His father lying on the couch, hopeless and angry, his mother crying, bills piling up. That image stayed with him forever. It wasn't just the pain, it was the powerlessness. And Howard made a quiet promise to himself that one day he'd build something different, something better. But first, he had to survive. When life gets dark, some people break. Others build dreams to escape it. For Howard, the staircase of his housing project became that escape. He would sit there alone, imagining a future where he didn't have to worry about heat, food, or eviction. In high school, he found an outlet, football, and he was good enough to earn an athletic scholarship. It was his ticket out, but Howard didn't want to be a jock. He wanted to use his voice, so he chose to major in communications. The problem? His scholarship didn't cover everything, so to stay in school, Howard worked endless side jobs, bartending, stretching ski boots at a lodge, even selling blood at local clinics just to buy food. Think about that. He literally gave up parts of himself to keep the dream alive. And still, he kept going. After college, Howard worked in sales, first at Xerox, then at a housewares company. That's where you first heard about a small Seattle business called Starbucks. Back then, Starbucks didn't serve coffee. It only sold beans and equipment. But something about the name, the vibe, the people, it stuck with him. He became obsessed with working there. For over a year, he called, visited, pitched himself, trying to convince the founders to hire him. Finally, in 1982, they gave in. He became their director of marketing. But it wouldn't be long before everything changed. In 1983, Howard traveled to Italy on a company trip, and what he saw there completely transformed his idea of coffee. Italian espresso bars weren't just serving drinks, they were serving culture. The baristas knew every customer by name. People gathered like family. The coffee wasn't just fuel, it was a ritual, a connection, a pause in a chaotic world.
Howard was stunned. He thought, why doesn't this exist in America? Why is coffee here so cold, so transactional?
He returned home buzzing with ideas, personalized service, community, a place between home and work. But when he pitched it to Starbucks owners, they shot him down. Too risky, too different, too idealistic. They wanted to stay in the business of beans. Howard knew he had to make a choice. He quit and launched his own coffee company, Il Giornale. But there was one problem. He had no money. So he started pitching investors. And the rejections came fast and brutal. 242 pitches, 217 rejections. That's 217 people telling him no, that his vision was flawed, that he wasn't worth betting on. Most people would have stopped, but Howard didn't. He said those rejections were humbling, but not defeating. Eventually, enough people saw what he saw, and he launched his first cafe, modeled exactly after what he experienced in Italy. Warm, personal, community-focused. Il Giornale was a hit. But the story wasn't over, because the original Starbucks was in trouble. Just a few years after Howard left, Starbucks was struggling, and in 1987, the owners decided to sell. Howard saw his chance. He raised $3.8 million and bought Starbucks outright. Now he had the name, the brand, and the vision. He rebranded Il Giornale as Starbucks, blending the Italian warmth with American ambition, and began building what would become a revolution in coffee culture. Under Howard's leadership, Starbucks didn't just grow, it exploded. By the early 2000s, stores were popping up in every major city in America and then the world. They didn't just sell coffee, they sold comfort, connection, a consistent, elevated experience in every location. The brand became a lifestyle, a place to work, read, think, meet. A third place between home and office. Howard introduced employee benefits, stock options, and healthcare even for part-time workers. Why? Because he never forgot the way his father was treated, and he swore he'd never treat his people the same way. From 3 stores to over 30,000. From 0 to over $100 billion in market value. But beneath all the numbers, the heart of Starbucks was still that little boy from Brooklyn, chasing something better. Howard Schultz never claimed to be a genius. He never said it was easy, but what he always believed in was responsibility. He once said, "You can blame others, or you can get up and take control." Most people wait for the perfect moment. He didn't. Most people stop after rejection number 10. He kept going after rejection number 200. His advice? Don't wait, don't wallow, don't blame, because luck, it's mostly just showing up, over and over again, until someone finally says yes. He said, "A year from now, you may wish you had started today." That's the power of showing up, of trying again, of betting on yourself. Howard Schultz didn't grow up with connections, or money, or privilege. He grew up with pain, with grit, with the kind of clarity that only comes from seeing your family fall apart, and deciding you'll do whatever it takes to change your future. He sold his blood to buy food, and years later, he gave healthcare to thousands of workers. He built a global empire, but more than that, he built hope. So the question is, if a kid from Brooklyn with nothing but a dream could build all this, what's stopping you?